Welcome back to Virtual School Assembly. Today our guest is Monica Kretschmer. Monica is the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Women of Inspiration Awards, and SupportHER. She is the producer and host of Women of Inspiration podcast featuring women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Monica is a native Calgarian, visionary, I probably mispronounced that, sorry, we'll come back to that, speaker and serial entrepreneur. She's committed to raising the bar to close the gender gap and elevate women-owned and women-led businesses. Monica's mission is to inspire women to lead with purpose and prosper in business and in life. Welcome to the show, Monica.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Tyler. I was super excited to be able to have the opportunity to speak at this virtual school assembly because this is an area and a group of really amazing young minds that we have the ability to share our experiences so they don't have to go down the same roads, make the same mistakes. They can actually, get to where they're going quicker and faster. So it's really cool to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
Right. I totally agree. And I love that we have this platform. It's a fun way to share with students. But as we were talking before the call, when we were kids, it was hard to find mentors sometimes. And now it's so easy through technology to have people who can talk to you. And so really appreciate you coming on this morning. Tell us a little bit about you. When I read all your things in the bio, that doesn't mean much to the kids. So tell us about who you are and what you do.
So I am an entrepreneur and I'm also a mom. I have a 14-year-old son. So the age group that your program is for is my son's age group. So I kind of get it really well. And I know about, all the challenges that kids are sort of facing right now. So it's really exciting being part of that. For work, what I do is I have a women's network. And, really through my series of events in my life led me to the moment where I said, I've got to build something that's meaningful and adds value and helps and supports people. So I targeted to help and support women, entrepreneurs and professionals with a shared value system. And I think I want to talk a little bit about that, how important it is to know your value system and alignment with that. And so I created a national organization that really has memberships. We can connect people because it's important to build relationships and connect and have support networks, always really important. And build relationships that you can have lifelong relationships. So I've got a network and I also have an awards program. So we celebrate women doing amazing things and we share their stories nationally, globally. And so that's a really big piece of the work that I do as well is, elevating women-owned, women-led businesses, putting women doing amazing things into the spotlight.
Right. Well, let's start. You mentioned a few times the value of network and community. Let's start with that. Why is that so important for kids who are out there watching this? Why is it so important to belong to something with like-minded and like-thinking people?
So, I'm just going to speak to where we are right now. We're coming out of COVID, right? So it can be a very lonely place to have to go through a challenge. And I think that the kids out there can relate right now. How did you feel not being in school, being able to talk about it and talk it out with your friends and your support system, right? You got to do it on Zoom and all that sort of electronic stuff, but it's different. So I think that helping you through things, your support network becomes to be your biggest champions. They become your cheerleaders. And you start building those connections that as you grow and you kind of figure out what you want to do with your life, those relationships become pure gold because nothing is more important than what we call is human capital. So learning the value of friends and support networks and human capital and building relationships at such a young age is super important. I mean, in the adult world, we call it networking. I don't like that word. I like relationship building and human capital so much better because it's about relationships. And those are the relationships that will carry you through your personal life and your business life.
Absolutely. And it's amazing when we start things young, how it carries on afterwards. We were talking earlier about how it's crazy how things like gossip and bullying and being mean, that happens in middle school, it happens in junior high, but it also happens when you're 40 and 50 years old. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are some of those things that young kids are doing now that might have repercussions way later on in their lives?
Well, and thank you. I know that we talked about this in the green room, and I said this is something I really want to bring up. And it was just a conversation that I had with my sister's stepdaughter, and we were walking in the country, and I said, so how's school? How is COVID? And she said, COVID's been kind of great, but not. I really kind of don't mind being virtual, but I don't miss all the gossip. And she's 14, and a bright, really, she's into gymnastics, and she kind of knows that she wants to be a nurse when she grows up. Like, she has goals, and but I was really surprised to hear that she was actually being bullied at school, or that the girls were gossiping. And I said, whoa, I'm really shocked. How is that so? And she goes, yeah, it happens all the time. They're like, somebody doesn't like you, and honestly, life is too short, and the gossiping makes you feel bad. Why do you want to be around people that make you feel bad? You don't want to be around them when you're growing up, and you certainly don't want to do business with them or be around them when you grow up either. So I think that for kids at such a young age, it's okay to lead by example and say, that's not cool for me. I really want to be around people that I love, trust, and support. And, like, be that beacon of light for somebody and that cheerleader. And honestly, that is qualities of leadership. Those are
Mhm.
leadership qualities that you will begin to grow throughout your life. Start learning that now. And if that's behaviors happening, just, I don't want to be part of that. And soon, I totally believe that if more kids step into, that's not acceptable, period.com, like, end, and just own it, the bullies will go away.
Right.
They're not going to gain the power that they do have, because they just won't be as effective.
Right. I do find it fascinating. In fact, I was just talking with my wife over lunch today about some of the kids we knew when we were younger, and how it's interesting that some of the behaviors that they were doing that were not nice, they were trying to look important, to be popular. A lot of those same behaviors are happening now 20, 30 years later. And so you don't escape it. But the good side of that is, if you can be confident and happy and have a good network now as a kid, you'll likely continue with that throughout your life. And so I wonder if you can speak to that a little bit. What are some things that kids can be doing to ensure that as they grow up, they are confident, they are well connected, they have those meaningful relationships that will help them to have a fulfilling life?
Well, I'm going to share a little story, and this might be a little bit over the top, but for our awards program in 2000, I believe 2017, we had an application come through, and there were national awards, and it was an 8-year-old young woman, and she was an inventor. She was interested in STEM and science, and she knew her path. She was like an entrepreneur. She had a website. She had already made some money. She had a LinkedIn profile, social media, and she, on her ways to school, she did a little message, her tip of the day,
Mhm.
and I thought, how cool is that? Somebody that young, and when you're younger, you don't have those hangups. I think it's easier to be courageous and learn that when you're younger. But I say, look after try and find some role models, and Google women doing cool things, Google women leaders, read about them, find out about their stories and the great things that they're doing, because they all have a career path. And not always is the career path a pleasant one, but hopefully if you can learn from the career path and the decisions that they made, you can sort of guide your way through, so you don't have to make the same mistakes, but really see the amazing things that you can do when you're older. So I think role models and finding that would be super key. And you don't need to go further than your iPad, to
Right.
Google to find them. So women leaders, role models, Google a bunch of those, and then also reach out to your, maybe have a conversation with your mom or your dad, and just say, you know what, do you have anybody, I'm thinking, I might like to go into nursing, or I might like to go into this, or I might like to find somebody that's built a business and see what that's all about. Would you mind introducing me to them, and maybe they can mentor me? And honestly, I don't know one adult that would not be like super flattered that somebody was interested in learning about what they've done, and just spending a little bit of time and investing maybe just a little bit of time mentoring them.
Yeah.
And then share the information. I think that whatever information you can have as a young woman, you know, get your people, get your tribe around you excited about something, and you know, like, start playing around with what could you do to make an impact. Look at Greta Thunberg, you know, like it or hate it, whatever she's done, there's that political side to it, but what she has done is she's taken a stand for what she believes in, and I applaud her on that on so many different levels. And I mean, she has had support, so it's asking for support, going out there looking for it, doing some research, and then finding something that you're interested in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, I know that you practice what you preach because you've created some pretty amazing initiatives yourself, and you're leading some great groups. So I'd like for you to talk about that. What goes into starting an initiative? What goes into starting something that you're passionate about and getting people into your tribe so that you have that support along the way?
Oh my goodness. So this is where it gets a little complicated, because I really truly believe that you have to be led with a different purpose. And for, you know, entrepreneurs are a different breed. And
Mhm.
there's a quote that said, you know, I always thought that I was the crazy one. Do you know what I mean? Only the crazy ones will actually get into entrepreneurship. It's because that road is very hard. And I think that if you don't have your purpose, or knowing what you really, really love doing, or what you get excited, and to dummy that down a little bit, I mean, just to make it so easy to understand, is what gets you excited. You know, if there's something that gets you excited, look down that road and look to see if there's something that you can do for a job or a career when you get older. That might be your purpose, right? So think about the things that excite you as your purpose. And for me, that was, I'm a visionary, so I think of great big things all the time. I think about making an impact, and so that's kind of my what leads me in a lot of things, is that I'm making an impact in the lives of others. It's not easy though. And I have to say that, you know, being an entrepreneur, it's like you have to have your support network. Here we go back to the support network again, right? You're never alone, and you can't be afraid to ask for help. So there's that confidence piece, right? And it's okay to have 100 no's, because when you get that yes, holy moly's, does that ever feel great, right? So don't be afraid of the no's. And I just think the path for me, it was, I didn't do what normal entrepreneurs do. Normal entrepreneurs, they keep their day job, and then they start building their slowly. And I didn't do that. My story was a little bit different. I was a single mom, and I knew that if I wanted to make something happen, that I couldn't just do it on the side. I needed to invest myself 1,000%, and that's exactly what I did. And my story about all of the adversity that I went through with my divorce was actually something, and this is something really important for everybody to understand, is those challenges really make you stronger. So whatever challenges or whatever sort of nonsense or crazy stuff that's going on at school right now that seems like really, really big, getting through that gives you the confidence for the next. And so, you know, I've had a lot of opportunities to really test my strength, and I just pooled them all together, and I focused in on what I knew that I was capable of doing. Because in my mind, I'm like, you know, I got through that. What's the worst that can happen? You know, now I'm going to do it for me. So it was the hard work, the leading with purpose, and really asking for help and building my support network. That's really how I continue to grow.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing out that a lot of your success comes through failure. It comes through learning as you go along, and you know, nobody just became a success overnight. It's a lot of hard work. So I think that's an important message for kids. Now, you have a 14-year-old son. I also have a 14-year-old son. And so something that we have in common is we want our sons to grow up to be people who care, who are loving. And in your case, you have an initiative called SupportHER, where we're talking to men about how to support and empower women. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and what we can be doing to support young men in that initiative?
So again, I'm super excited to talk about this, because we launched in 2018 when the Me Too movement came out. And for those that are watching, just Google Me Too, and you can find and learn about it, because it's really important that you know why that happened and the importance of it. But I also felt that there was a need that to highlight and feature the men that were elevating and supporting and championing women. Now, the reason why it's so important to champion women is they really contribute so much to a company, to the economy. And so by in creating opportunities for females to lead in leadership roles is really important for society on a whole. So they didn't get there at the top because by themselves. Again, let's go back to the support. Let's go back to the cheerleaders. Let's go back to the mentors. Let's make more of those opportunities, and men play a big piece. So, I felt it was really important to highlight the men that are champions for women, but also send a strong message to the young boys that they have a certain role in that too, that men and women work together really well and they can support each other on that journey. And so leading a women's network, I always thought, and a mom of a boy, I want him to know that he's important too, but his role as supporting a woman to help advance women is super key. It's just like, you don't take off your hat, Tyler, from home when you go to the office or the community. You're still a great guy and you're still a supporter of your wife and your family. You're not going to take off that hat when you go to the office and not support somebody to help her succeed at work. So I think really just for the boys, finding leaders, and not everybody has a dad, or some children don't have one or both parents, so look to the role models in the community, or celebrities that are doing great things, that they can look up to and see how they're actually leading by example to support.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing part of your journey and your message with us. If kids want to learn more about these initiatives, where's the best place for them to go online?
So if they want to get their LinkedIn account, oh my God, I'd be super impressed, by the way. But contact me on LinkedIn, say, hi, Monica, I was watching your video. I'm 14 years old. I just got my first LinkedIn. Can you follow me? I'd be like, absolutely. So next one is my website. So universalwomensnetwork.com. And there's a newsletter there. So, sign up for the newsletter. Get the emails coming through. We celebrate women and learn about what we're doing. And it's my goal to actually do more of this to elevate the young leaders, because I think it's so important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
It has been a true pleasure. And thank you for having me, Tyler.